What is going on, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good, because it is good to feel good. And yes, it is a mustache. And yes, I do somewhat resemble Ryan on BBC News, who was interviewed after Boris Johnson was found guilty of unlawfully proroguing Parliament, and subsequently called him Joris Bunsen. On Thursday, the 12th of December 2019, 5 weeks from now, the United Kingdom will be having, yet again, a general election.
You're joking. Not another one? Oh, for God's sake, I can't stand this. There's too much politics going on at the moment.
And with this video, what I want to do is tell you how a general election works, voting eligibility, what some party policies are ahead of the election, and also to conclude, I want to tell you how you should go about voting from a neutral standing and why it is important to do so. So yeah, let's dive into it. So just to let you know, for a few bits of this video I'll be looking down at my notes because I've got a few bits written down, so if I do get stuck I'll be like, what am I saying? Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, just in case you were wondering. This general election will be the fourth such general election to happen this decade, after 2010, 2015, 2017 and this upcoming one being 2019. Now, traditionally, in accordance with the Fixed Terms Parliament Act of 2011, a general election will take place 5 years after the previous election, on the first Thursday of May. So if this wasn't happening, then technically the next election would likely have been the first Thursday of May in 2022. Now, alternatively, a general election can also occur in the case of a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister, or a 2/3 majority vote is passed in the House of Commons. The latter is what happened here. So yeah, here we are. Speaking of the House of Commons, there are 650 seats in the House itself. Each seat represents a constituency within the United Kingdom. For example, my constituency is South West Bedfordshire, which is currently a Conservative seat. 326 seats are required for an overall majority, in which the party with the most overall seats and gets into power, and also their party leader becomes Prime Minister. Now, for context, in the last general election, while the Conservative Party did end up with the most overall seats, they failed to reach the required total for an overall majority, as they had only won 317 seats, which resulted in a hung parliament. On to the topic of voting eligibility, one must be on the electoral register, 18 or over on polling day, either a Commonwealth citizen, that being from, say, the UK, Canada, India, Australia, etc., or a citizen of the Republic of Ireland, a resident at an address in the UK, or a British citizen who has been living abroad who has been registered to vote in the last 15 years. And finally, not illegally excluded from voting due to criminal convictions or somebody found guilty of corrupt or illegal practices, or overall disqualified from voting. You must be registered to vote by midnight on the 26th of November, or for proxy vote for whatever reason, must be registered by the 4th of December. Now onto the topic of party policies. Now, the main topic of discussion going into this election is going to be the matter of Brexit, which, as you may or may somehow not know about entirely, is the UK's process of leaving the European Union after a referendum held back in 2016 saw 17.4 million people voting in favour of leaving the European Union, over 16.1 million people who voted in favour of remaining. Since 2017, when Article 50 was triggered, which began the formal process of negotiating with the EU to reach a deal by the deadline, negotiation with the EU has been very back and forth, with multiple amendments to the withdrawal agreement having been rejected, and the original deadline day of Friday the 29th of March 2019 was initially pushed back to Friday the 12th of April 2019, and then push way back until the Thursday the 31st of October 2019. That day is now passed and has once again been pushed back, and as it stands, the deadline day is Friday the 31st of January 2020. In regards to Brexit, each of the major parties has their own stances and policies on the matter at hand. For example, the Conservative Party support leaving under the terms of the withdrawal agreement as negotiated by Boris Johnson, which in turn is an amendment to Theresa May's previous agreement. The Brexit Party are in favour of a hard no-deal Brexit, and would call for Boris Johnson to drop his deal. The SNP, Plaid Cymru, the Independent Group for Change and the Green Party are each opposed to Brexit and would propose a second referendum with the option to remain in the EU. Similar to the position of the Liberal Democrats, however, should they win the election, they would revoke Article 50 with immediate effect. The Labour Party support renegotiating the withdrawal agreement, and once a deal has been secured, they would put that forward as an option in a referendum with the option to also remain in the EU. Now a little bit on the importance of voting. Now, I'm not going to say who you should vote for, as I want this to be as neutral as possible, but what I will say is that I implore you to vote. Every time there's an election, there are countless people who say the cliches of my vote doesn't matter, or it won't make a difference anyway, or this government can't government, why should I bother? Simply put, it does matter in the long run. Voting gives you the power to decide how the country is run. The MPs you help to elect will be making decisions on issues that you care about, including the NHS, housing, transportation, environment, Brexit, the things go on. There's a whole list to that. The last general election saw a 68.7% turnout, which was up from 66.2% in 2015, and the remaining 31.3% made up for 14.5 million people who didn't show up to vote. The lowest constituency turnout was Glasgow North East with 53%, and the highest constituency turnout was Twickenham with 79.5%. 18 to 24-year-olds saw a turnout of 58%, while 70-year-olds plus saw a turnout of a whopping 84%. By not voting, you basically leave your decision to be made by another. An election is also your chance to speak out if you have a complaint about how the country is run. If you don't vote, you'll have had no say over who will be making decisions on the issues that are important to you. And looking back in history, many people have died for men and women to have that right to vote. For example, the Peterloo or the women's suffrage movement respectively, so that everyday people like you and me can have this say, basically. Even if you don't agree with the major parties, there'll most likely be a candidate representing a smaller party or even an independent candidate. Even if you vote for one of them, it can make a big difference in regards to the turnout. So even if you vote for one candidate or another, it still counts at the end of the day. Alternatively, you can spoil your ballot if you don't agree with the candidates that are listed. Spoiled ballots are read out in subsequent counts after the polling has ceased and still count towards the overall turnout. Ultimately, you have the power to think, the power to choose, and most importantly, the power to decide. And so with that, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope this video gives you kind of an insight into how the general election process works, and also how you want to go about voting and why you should go about voting and stuff. But as I say, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for because this is as neutral as possible, I guess. Anyway, I'm also going to leave some links in the description so that they give you a bit more idea. The first thing I'm going to link in there is the link to register to vote. If you haven't done it already, do it now, as you have until the 26th of November to register to vote, so do it now and you won't regret it. Also, I'll leave in some kind of like reports on like how the country voted in the last election, and also like again the importance of voting, and then also some little quizzes in there because quizzes are fun about, you know, what policies you are for and against, and like that with those questions that you answer, you then find out who you're most likely to vote for. There's also one in there, so there's one there which is a brief one for the 2019 election. There's also one from the previous election and also from the election in 2015. So yeah, have fun with those, guys, and also, again, happy voting. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this video, and I shall leave you with some advice as well, and that is to enjoy yourself, stay safe, and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Thank you for watching, and peace.